This is John Walton, and you're listening to the Power Play Point podcast with the Blue Liner on point and Anna Knox. Here's Wilson, and on the right circle, he scores!
Rebound loose, wild scramble in front, score! OVechkin with a buzzer beater! It'll count!
And a hat trick tonight, number 21,
Hello and welcome once again to the Power Play Point podcast. This is your host, the Blue Liner on Point, talking to you live to tape from downtown Glen Burnie, Maryland, from my home there. And it is a 4:45 Eastern time this Saturday, April the 12th. Happy last tax weekend for anybody who hasn't turned their paperwork in. A little bit later than I'd like to be because my cat, who is so formal he dresses for the occasion, especially when he eats, because he's a tuxedo, had to be fed, had to be attended to, so didn't want to see him go without. So we're a little bit later on a different day. So we're doing this today because there's a game tomorrow. And so let me go ahead and introduce our co-host for this week. Of course, the Mermaid is off on spring break. We'll not be hearing from her for another week. So I have brought back in Jini Clausen from Fairfax, Virginia. We got to come up with a name for you.
Right.
I don't know. We got to figure something out. I don't. Was there something they called you in school or something you went by? Not that Jini's not a bad name.
Yeah, I've not really had much in the way of nicknames. I think Jini's already like so short and theoretically nicknamey, even though that's my like full name.
Okay. We'll have to
We'll
have to
think of
bear
something.
down and figure something out here. Because it just seems weird. You've definitely become part of the Triple P family, but everybody else has a variant so far except yourself. But we'll fix that. We'll definitely fix that in time. Okay, so it was. Wow, this reads like an 8th grade English literature course. It was the best of weeks. It was the worst of weeks.
So true.
Wow. Lots of very, very good, and then lots of very, very bad. I don't know how else to describe it. I really don't.
Last Sunday feels like a lifetime ago.
That it does.
It's crazy. This week feels very disjointed and long and short and weird. It's a very weird week. I think you could see it in the boys' play this week.
Yeah, I don't think they knew how to feel.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, this is probably the very worst analogy I can come up with, but it's like that first relationship you fall into after being in a long-term relationship with somebody. You're still missing that person, yet you're happy to have moved on, or so you think.
Right.
I probably could have phrased that better, but I'll be honest. I'm a bit out of sorts because I've had so much to deal with this week. I won't bore you with the details, but just a little bit of family stuff, a little bit of personal stuff to take care of that wasn't fun. A lot of bit of work stuff that definitely wasn't fun. But yeah, I'll try to sit on business here and get through the week that was caps wise for you guys, because that's what we do here, or try to do. Full disclosure, I have on in the background right now the dying seconds of the second period of Carolina New York Rangers.
I actually have it on as well.
So if you hear a scream, if we go long enough in about a half an hour or so, that'll be me celebrating the Rangers missing the playoffs. Fair warning. Okay, so let's. Well, it's not really ripping the Band-Aid off. This is probably the best part of the week here, but of course, what happened earlier in the week was I don't know. We just had a player that's been playing for the Caps for about 20 years or so, and I don't know. He just goes about his business and just scores a lot of goals. And the goal he scored in this game just happened to beat a 20-plus-year-old record that nobody thought anybody would ever touch or come close to. I don't know. Just your
Just
usual.
little things.
It's your usual run-of-the-mill hockey week, and boy, I'll be honest. There was a part of me that was like, okay, can you wait till you get home and do this? But I I jumped out of my seat when it did happen.
Oh yeah.
We're going to take things a little bit differently. There were 3 games played, one of which we're really only going to do our usual breakdown, because this first game, well, really there was only one goal that mattered, um, and it was scored during the second period of this game at 7 minutes and 26 seconds. And yes, of course, it was by Alex Ovechkin, his 42nd of the year, on the power play, assisted by Dylan Strome and Tom Wilson. Well, I can't believe the national guys were all, well, it wasn't that great a pass. It doesn't have to be. It's Ovi. And
I didn't even listen to the national
that was
broadcast
probably
for that.
that was the only bad thing they had to say about it. They
I
loved
thought
the
it was
goal,
a
of
great
course.
pass.
It was pretty good
Of
pass.
course,
I don't think.
they don't like anything that Wilson does. Let's be real.
Well, Ovi makes every play look good, but I don't think
Yeah.
it was, as long as Ovi can get to it, it's not a bad pass.
Right.
And Ovi has this great reach, and this great presence of mind to be within range of a pass, and that's all he needed. It was a classic catch and release from his classic spot at the left circle, and it wasn't a slapper, it wasn't a one-timer, but it still had enough force on it that it caught just enough space, and the sheer torque of it forced the puck into the net after it hit. I think it was Sorokin's. Might have been either his armpit, the edge of his glove, or his shoulder. I should know. I've seen enough replays of it, but it caught
Right.
a piece of Sorokin and then went into the net. I'll be honest, the first couple times I saw it, I thought, oh no, they're calling this back because it went in through I swear it looked like to me it went in through the other side of the net. And they were gonna call it back. But no, it was legit. It went in the right way. But that's how fast he shot it. That's how much force he had on it.
Yeah.
And then of course there was the ceremony, and I'm not going to bore you with my take on it. I watched it. I taped it. You all saw it. Jini, how was it for you? What was it all from your perspective? Describe the thing from start to finish that you saw.
I mean, I was so I was screaming. My dog like jumped off my lap and was glaring at me. I mean, I'm normally not much of a yeller when I'm, watching hockey. I'll like exclaim or I'll like make noises, but I don't yell. And I was just like, "Oh my god, it went." I'm like being very effusive, and he's down on the ground staring at me, and I'm, texting Chris, who I always chat with during games, and we're like, oh my God, it happened. It's, I don't necessarily, honestly, what I remember most is the post-game hug with Becky. That's like, that for me will, I think, be the part that I remember longest. I won't remember like the ceremony on ice. I mean, it was nice. Like, I have no problems with it, but like that wasn't as like emotional as like that like locker room hug with Becky, and just like the full, I love how emotive they both are. And like that bond is so apparent that it was very, very emotional for me. But I can't imagine having like, you're stopping a game, you've got the ceremony, and then to like, obviously the boys never got back into game mode because you're just so excited that like it's like you just won, even though you're losing, and you don't even care about the outcome. No one cares about the outcome of that game. It was just the important thing happened, and everything else is just kind of to the side.
And that's definitely the feeling I got was after the ceremony was all over and they went back to playing. It was just so anticlimactic, and it was
Right.
almost like oh, why even bother finishing the game?
Right.
This
They were
feels
like, can we just call it a loss and go back to the locker room and celebrate? I feel like that's what everyone just wanted to do. Like, okay, let's not even bother to play the last period because we're done. We just want to go drink beer and cheer and celebrate.
yeah, pretty much.
Which
It
I
was
get. Like, they've been like building up to this moment for so long, and it's such an adrenaline hit. And then afterwards, like, you're supposed to just go back to skating, and I don't know. Yeah.
it was just far too anticlimactic to even finish the game, and I think the Caps were pretty much out of it at that point. It could have finished not unlike another game that happened this week. It could have finished 14-1
Yeah.
Islanders.
Yes.
I think everybody's very lucky that it didn't finish that way. But yeah, you could tell there wasn't much in the way of interest in finishing the game.
Yeah.
And I mean, I get that you owe that to the moment, but I also, in a way, didn't want to see it that way. I didn't want to see all of that, and we'll talk about that more in a moment. But yeah, obviously that was the most important event that happened this week. That they were just, I think it was as much happiness for Ovi, but as much of that as, oh my God, we finally did it. It's finally done. We don't have to stop worrying about it anymore. No more answering the questions. No more dealing
Right.
with it.
Especially for Ovi. He has been so obviously frustrated by getting asked the same question every post game, and he's been giving the same answer. And I imagine he's so happy to not have to answer what he's thinking about the chase now. Because he's been getting the same exact question, and he gives the same answer every time. And I love Carbs has like referenced it a couple times. He's like, "You'll ask the question, and Ovi will give you the answer." you know. So I'm sure he's so happy he does not have to have that same conversation after every game now.
And I'm sure he is. And he's actually said it
Yeah.
in so many words with interviews with our folks here.
Yeah.
Because I think they would be the only ones who would really understand. People like Tarek El Bashir and Sammy Silver. He's to them he's like, yeah, I mean, I have had to answer the same questions over and over again.
Yeah.
Um, But yeah, I think that's good that that's a weight off of him and off of this team. But I do think it's come at a cost, and that cost has been whether they want to, have tried to deal with it in their own way, in their best way possible. It has been a distraction and has taken some energy away. I don't know that it's going to be a long-term thing, but I think, and again, we'll discuss it towards the end here, but I think it's been something of a mental roadblock for them in trying to get the proper mindset here, because there's a
Yeah.
big task coming up here in about a week or so.
Yeah.
All right. So, well, not to cut things off, but yeah, obviously it was a great moment. Real quick, yeah, I was in my usual spot in the living room, jumped off my seat, and the first words that came to my mind was, "He did it. He finally did it." And of course, I had to share with everybody on the Facebook page, and it was. I don't think I'm being too uh, heavy-handed with this when I say it was one of the biggest adrenaline rushes in my life, because it was literally seeing history unfold in front of you.
Yeah.
How can you not be jazzed about that? Especially when you consider the fact that a Washington Capital owns one of the biggest pieces of hockey history there will ever be. Now, one day, it is possible that one day somebody will come along and break that record. Right now, it seems unbreakable, but 20 years ago, it also seemed unbreakable. So I'm not going to put it out of the realm of possibility that it's breakable. One day, some player somewhere may just do that. But for the foreseeable future, a Washington Capitals player owns that piece. We can look at our own team's history and say, yes, that guy did it. And
Yeah.
I think that should be the biggest takeaway from all of this. And
Yeah. And that's honestly, so that watching that, feeling that adrenaline, feeling that, and then when you listen to Ovi talk about what this city means to him and what I don't remember the exact quote, but he was like, you know, he's like, I have one love, basically one love in Russia, one love here. I love Dynamo and I love the Caps. That's it was so important to him to be on one team forever, and we are so blessed that we are the ones that drafted him, and that he built the culture. He built, we're going to get that again with Tom Wilson. We've got John Carlson. We've got these people who are Caps for life, and they're so deeply embedded. And to have the greatest goal scorer of all time so deeply embedded in our team, in our city, is absolutely amazing.
Truly. And it will be something that, it's a really old saying, but it will be something that we Washington Capitals fans can hang our hat on, that a player that a lot of us grew up watching, or in my case, grew old watching, um, help us fall in love or fall back in love with the game. And yes, you're right. He does mean a lot to the city. You cannot deny, you can't deny that he is probably going to go on, not probably, he is going to go on and be memorialized as one of the greatest DC sports athletes ever. Put him up there with Darryl Green, for example, of the Redskins, Ryan Zimmerman of the Nats,
Yeah.
Wes Unseld of the old Bullets. Names like that. He definitely belongs with that company, and that is just absolutely perfect for a sport that I spent just about all of my life watching and loving. That's probably the the sweetest cherry on top that you could put on this whole thing is that a guy from my team did that. And if it makes the haters hate even more, so be it. Let them hate. I really don't care anymore. No amount of bad water they can throw on this will ever take it away.
Right.
There's no asterisk. There's no, but what about this? There's none of that. One team, 20-year career, no blemishes. And yes, he's already won a cup. So that's it. That's all of it. You can't, there's nothing you can throw at it that's anything that will knock it down ever.
Absolutely.
Just to clear that up from my perspective. But
definitely on that page.
No, nothing and no one will take away the greatness of that moment. Suffice to say, even hours later, living the high. But now, as they say, life goes on, and the sport of hockey is no different. Now, thankfully, they had 3 full days to rest from that game. And as we found out, I don't think we even mentioned this last week, but as they found out in the middle of the Chicago game, Alexei Protas had a bit of an incident where his skate boot was cut by another player's skate, and he was ruled later on to be out week to week. Now, what I know of it is they taped his foot. I don't know if I haven't gotten any details if there's any concern about an infection or tendon or nerve damage or anything like that. It could be he's in something like a half walking boot right now. Mrs. Blue Liner, who has experience with wearing such things after suffering similar injuries, shall we say, is of the mindset that is most likely a precaution. So hopefully he'll be ready for the playoffs, but
I saw something that said he's supposed to start skating on Monday.
That he is. That he is.
I would imagine, I mean, honestly, with where we are in the standings, there's no reason for him not to rest, and I would much rather him, take a little extra time, start skating this week, come back for game 1 of the playoffs. I would imagine I hope he'll be back by then. But I also think that you can really see how much of a difference maker he has been for us in the difference that since he's been out. I think you really see how much more of a difference maker he is this season compared to last season, given how we played the last couple of games.
He's easily been the Caps' best 5-on-5 player all year.
Yeah.
That is what concerns me the most.
Yeah.
Because even though this next game we're about to describe, they managed to win without him. Yeah, if there's too much time spent without your best 5-on-5 player, well, guess what? Anywhere from 75 to 90% of a hockey game is played 5-on-5.
Yeah.
So if you're missing your best guy in that situation, then your chances of winning go down quite a bit. It's simple math. Now it was officially diagnosed as a skate boot cut. I don't want to make light of the situation, but I also don't want us to make too much of it either. I'm reminded of the old Neosporin commercial where they showed 2 cut fingers, and one that looked like it was untreated after a week, and the other, you put Neosporin on it 7 days later, it's almost healed. So part of me wants to think, okay, all you got to do is put in Protas's case, maybe, I don't know, a half a gallon of Neosporin on that. I don't know. I think he wears like a size 29 or something like that.
Just soak the foot in it, just the Neosporin boot.
Yeah. I kid, of course, but hopefully it's Something that simple, but it tends not to be that simple, but we'll see. But yes, as Jenny pointed out, he is due to begin skating again Monday. Also, to go back to skating will be Logan Thompson and Chikrin, I believe, and Ovechkin for that matter,
Yeah.
taking an extra skate.
LT and Ovi were skating this morning. So.
Okay, that's right. There is that. So hopefully, we'll see. But I hate to put it out there, but I would not be surprised if Pro ends up missing game 1, and that's it. And I'm hoping that's it.
But let's just cross our fingers that that's the max.
Hopefully it's no more than that, if that. So, all right. So the next game they played was Thursday, the 10th, back home against the Carolina Hurricanes. And yes, there was a receipt taken last game because of what happened to Connor McMichael. And let's go ahead and get that out of the way. Brandon Duhaime took care of business.
And he took care of business. That was beautiful.
To Jalen Chatfield's credit, he did answer the bell. He could have easily turned turtle, but he answered the bell. He did his part. I'm not going to call him a fighter, but yeah, he stood there and ate a few fists from Duhaime, and 6:08 into the game, that got taken care of. So all right, and that's okay. I'm not going to get on a soapbox about fighting, but for those who question the necessity of fighting, sometimes it's how do I put this? It's how justice is doled out.
Yeah,
in the
the players police each other.
Yes, and themselves.
Yeah.
So they can't always depend on the league. Can't always depend on the Zebras to do it. It's it's the boys taking care of business, and you'll always notice that a good amount of the time, unless there's an extreme amount of hate or pressure in the game, or it's a really special situation, there's a fight and then tensions go way down.
Yep.
And it takes care of it. Everybody's like, all right, okay, we've seen it. It's done, taken care of. Let's get back to business. And that's why it still has a place in the game. Just not as big as it used to. So there's that. I just wanted to inject that as something of an old timey. Still, that's the old timey fan in me. I don't want players to end up retiring with massive cases of CTE either. But at the same time, these guys do know what they're signing up for.
Absolutely. And coming from someone who used to do MMA, most of the fights are not even they're not even connecting that much.
We get a little insight now.
I mean,
story now. this I gotta hear.
No, I trained Muay Thai for a few years.
Muy bien.
And I mean, I stopped, in my early 30s because of reoccurring knee issues, and I was like, I'm not planning on going pro with this, so there's no sense in working myself into knee surgery. But I followed UFC very closely for a long time, and so it's funny to me sometimes with that background, people will come in and they're talking about all these like the hockey fights, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, and I love the fights. It's great. But most of the time, the punches aren't really connecting. They're mostly just kind of throwing each other around. So I feel like the concussion is way less likely to come from most of the hockey fights than it is from random other occurrences in the game. I mean, you do occasionally. I mean, I feel like Dewey connected more punches on that fight than I see in most hockey fights.
Good insight and much appreciated. And now I think we've all learned something here. On top of that is if you ever see her in person, don't piss her off because yeah, she will go all Muay Thai on you.
Apparently, I like a little violence in all my sports.
I totally get that. All right, so let's jump into the scoring here. It's a great start. Well, not so great start. Yeah, okay. I got my periods mixed up here. So not so great start to the game. Logan Stankoven opens the scoring for the Canes, 13th of the year. Svechnikov and Roslovic, the assists on that one. That came at 5:42. So immediately they put Charlie behind the 8 ball. And I got to say, there were a couple of instances, not just a couple, isolated instances where he looked a little off balance, and he admitted after the post game that there were, he was a bit shaky to start, but he got it together. But it did not look all that great to begin with.
But he also had terrible defense there, and he also made some fantastic saves during that period that kept us in the game.
For sure. I don't think they get the win without him. It's another example of that. Without him doing what he needed to do, yeah, they definitely lose that game, probably in regulation.
Yeah.
Now, about, let's see, almost exactly 90 seconds later, they get another one here. Blake with his 16th, Jarvis the assist, 7:14. So Caps are really in a hole here. And since their offense had dried up, it was really a concern.
That was one of the weirdest goal situations I've ever.
That's right.
That was the most bizarre. No one even. So I was at the game. No one in the arena even had the thought that was a goal. Everyone was, and then the refs come out and they say it's a goal, and everyone was just like, "What?" Like there was complete shock. I'm sure that watching that on TV and listening to the commentators had to have been a very different experience. But in the arena, or at least where I was, there was not even a thought of that being a goal until it was announced.
Well, here was the sequence of events. So what happened was, and I can't remember if it was Blake himself or some other guy, but what was initially the ruling on the ice was goaltender interference, because what happened was a Carolina Hurricanes player ended up running into Charlie, who hit his head on some part of the goal.
That was so scary. I was like, because that was what I saw. I hadn't realized that Wilson had bumped into him, but I saw him go flying into Charlie. I saw Charlie hit against the goal, and I was like, if Charlie is injured right now, we are so screwed.
Yeah, and that was
scary.
That was the first concern, because he was in obvious distress.
Yes.
After that, so the first thought was, what a dirty play, and then a couple of sessions watching the replay, you realize, oh, he didn't go into Charlie Lindgren on his own, hence the penalty being rescinded. No, he was knocked into Charlie by Wilson. So then I'm thinking, okay, well, all right, maybe they're taking some time and looking at the legality of Wilson's hit. I looked at that. It wasn't from behind. It was shoulder on shoulder. Now, Anna is probably going to throw a fit when she hears this, but I was none too pleased with our boy Tommy after this
Right.
because
When I saw the replays, I was like, Tom, you're better than that. Why would you do that?
it was
But
very, very reckless and very out of character for what he's been this whole
yeah,
season.
yeah,
And I did not like it one bit. And I thought for a second, I thought, okay, he's going to get called for, a hit to the head or some sort of illegal check and major penalty and possibly thrown out of the game. No, they didn't do that either. Discussion for 2 more minutes. Oh, it's a goal.
yeah. That was shocking. That was shocking. I was like, that was the last thing I expected to hear when the ref went to center.
And I think our TV guys, I think Joe B and Locker were a little taken aback and caught off guard by that. I think that was the last thing that literally was the last thing that they broke down was watching the puck cross the line. And they broke it down a little more after the official announcement was made, and they were like, yeah, okay, it crossed the line, but I don't think it should count because play should have stopped.
I mean, the arena was incensed after that. I mean, there was the ref, you suck. There was, I mean, it was, shock and incense.
Yeah,
I did not like that. I've never seen a call like that.
It made no sense, and their logic was, okay, well, your guy pushed the opposition's guy into the net, and it propelled the puck across the line. That literally was their logic.
Right. And that's what they spelled that out, but I'm like, all of the rules for things like that feel so inconsistent. And I did not like that goal at all. I was infuriated at that point.
Honestly, I was more confused by it than infuriated. I had a feeling once they had ruled out the penalty, once they ruled out that no, we're not going to call anything in the way of a penalty, and we're going to look at this in other ways. I figured, okay, it has something to do with maybe a goal. I kind of figured that's the direction it was going. So I was more surprised than angry. But yeah, I wasn't shocked that they eventually called it a goal.
Right.
And it's
I don't want to. That hadn't even crossed my mind at that point, because at that point, all I was thinking was, oh my God, I just saw Lindgren fly into the bars, and I was hoping he was okay.
Yeah, I think giving up a goal was secondary to, oh my God, the best goalie we've got now for the foreseeable future may be out himself.
Yeah. And that was, and it was just one of those, like, I'm like, we have been so lucky with lack of injuries all season, and the last 2 weeks of the season, it's like boom, 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 boom. And it's so frustrating.
Yeah, so when I heard that they would have to trade a goal essentially for, Lindgren surviving, and he put the mask back on, and there's the funniest thing. He went to the bench, grabs a different water bottle, carries it with him to the net, puts a mask back on, and he's like, okay, I'm ready to go. And I think Locker kept making some jokes about it. It's like, oh, all he needs is a water bottle. Okay.
Yeah.
Was what it was like on the TV side of things. But no, it wasn't. It wasn't a good place. But I think me anyway, and I know, because it wasn't as real time. The explanation, probably the explanation in the arena was less, was probably poor and stilted compared to, you get the benefit
Absolutely.
of, the TV commentators who have 50 different replay angles to draw on.
Right.
And say, okay, well, this is what happened. And, but you're in the arena, you're live and seeing it happen. That's great. But you don't get, that's the one thing about being there is you don't get that benefit even
Yes.
from the, the Jumbotron. So yeah, I totally get that. But being down 2-0 wasn't the worst thing in the world, even though obviously not a great way to start the game. But that's where they were at that point. And the fight had already happened by then. So, I wasn't sure where this game was going to go, but I think the Caps were capable of a comeback. But I think the refs also kind of figured, well, you know what? We owe you guys one here. And they collected. Let's see here. So Sean Walker was called late in that same period. It was called a slash, but I think really what it was a trip. It looked more like no. I remember this now. It was a slash. It was a slash to the hands. It's going to be called every freaking time. So he should have known better. Caps go to the power play, and lo and behold, the guy who was indeed slashed ends up getting the goal, his 20th of the year, Pierre-Luc Dubois, at 18:06. Mangiapane, who's well, if you're going to turn it on, now is the time.
Yes.
Playing a lot better. 14th assist. Sandin, the secondary assist, 18:06. And jolly on the spot, as Blocker would say, was Dubois to tip it in front of the crease. 2-1 Caps going into the first. So feeling a lot better, I think. Okay, so lots of back and forth for the first half of the second period. And then the Caps get another power play. And Dylan Strome converts his 26. Ovechkin the assist at 10:50. So tie game there. Exactly 6 minutes later, almost at 16:51. Okay. Nick Dowd gets his 14th, ending a pretty long scoring drought, even for him. Duhaime and Carlson on the assists at 16:51. Shot type, that the app shot has the shot type as bat. I don't remember if he took a swing at it. Maybe he did, but I've honestly never seen it that described that way.
Yeah.
It's always tip in, wrist shot, or a slap shot or snapshot. I've never seen bat before.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
somebody getting creative there. So Caps get the lead. And then Tom Wilson gets his head out of it. Well, starts playing well. Sorry, Anna. You know I had to throw that in there. 33rd of the season, McMichael on the assist. Great power move, all kidding aside, towards the net. Literally willed it in past Anderson to get it in the goal. And this was 38 seconds later. So the route was on, or so we thought. And that ended the second. So we're thinking, all right, just play lockdown hockey and you got it. No, not to be. Jordan Martinook gets his 14th. Brent Burns and Jordan Stahl the assists at 4:42. Okay, play lockdown for the next 15 plus minutes. Well, then the Canes pulled their goalie with about 2 minutes left. Refresh my memory. Was it Ovi that had the empty net shot and it was blocked, or was it Dowd? I want to say it was one of those two.
I think I'm almost positive it was Ovi because everyone was like, "Oh, come on."
Okay. Yeah, I knew it was either Ovi or Dowd.
Yeah.
That had the shot, and somebody got their stick on it.
Yeah.
And it got deflected, and then they turned around, and then scored like 30 seconds later. And that goal scorer,
I wanted to cry, man.
Oh, man. That goal scorer was Seth Jarvis, his 31st. Asshole, the assist, and Brent Burns at 18:15. 2 overtime we go. And do we have a whole lot of mostly nothing? 2 shots for the Caps, 1 for the Canes. I think there was a penalty. I want to say there was a penalty called. No,
There
there
was
wasn't. Yes,
no,
yes, there was.
there
Yes, there
was.
was.
Yep.
That's right. That's right.
Because
Brent, this is the
we did nothing with that 4-on-3.
yeah. This is the one I was thinking of before. I thought Dubois got tripped. No, he got slashed. It was Ovechkin that got tripped by Burns.
By Burns,
And and Burns was like, "Oh, what do I got to do here?" But yeah, he went to the box, and it was 4-on-3. And you're right, they did a whole lot of nothing with
yeah.
that.
I don't think we even got a shot. Like that is the time to turn it on, and I don't know what they were doing.
It's like they went right back to being afraid to shoot again, and
Right.
it was ticking me off. It was, as you play to win the game, as has been said, and they weren't playing to win the game.
No.
No. So on to the skills competition we go. And, we don't like talking about that a whole lot here. Suffice to say, Pierre-Luc Dubois did the job there, got the goal and the win, and that extra goal that doesn't count except anywhere except the
Weirdness.
standings. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that weirdness. And yeah, game over. Caps win it. Canes go home with the loser point.
Yep.
And
But you know what? Chucky did fantastic in that shootout.
I was a bit skeptical going into this because
he was
Chucky's not
dialed in.
known. Yeah, Chucky's not known for being great in the shootout, but yes, he really locked it down. I don't think they even came close.
No,
in this one.
was. I felt like I'm always nervous with the shootout because it's just. It's literally just. You
It's
never know.
98% luck is what it is. That's
Yeah.
why one of the reasons why I hate it so damn much.
Right. It's terrible, but like there was something like I don't know. I was just getting just these like you could see in his body language that he was so locked in, and Doobie's shot was beautiful. It was kind of funny. There were a couple people, and like why did he send out Carlson? Give Leonard a shot, and I'm like, I understand why people want that, and I can see it getting argued both ways, but that's a lot of pressure for a kid in his, what was that, the 4th, 5th NHL game? Like you want to send in a rookie on a shootout? Like maybe we shouldn't overwhelm him, and also I think Carbs knows what he's doing.
Yeah, for real. I mean, you send out a guy who was literally taking college classes on a campus barely a week before. Yeah, send him out against a world-class goalie. Sure.
Right? I'm like you guys, like I understand, and I have been very impressed with what I've seen so far. I look forward to watching him develop next season, and I think he has been doing fantastic. But I do not think that he needs the pressure of being in a shootout in his like 5th game.
No.
So-
Let him learn the nuances of the game, stuff like that over a season. Don't throw him in the damn deep end when he doesn't actually have to.
That's how you kill young players' confidence. We got rid of Laviolette for a reason, and Carbs knows how to develop young players, and he has proven that with how amazing the strides so many of our players have taken. So like it always I get so irritated when people start getting like acting like they know. And I'm like, you know what? Carbs has he's proven pretty well that he knows what to do in these situations, so maybe just and yeah, so we have like we have a pretty 50, it's like 50-50 in O-time in shootouts, but that's because it's half luck, and like it's ridiculous. And people are like, well, why don't they practice the shootout? You're going to practice it for what? Random, the 8. How many times have we had the 4 times?
the 6 to 10 times it might
Yeah.
go that far.
Yeah. Like why?
On top of which, none of that crap is involved in the playoff games.
Exactly. Now, I do think McMichael especially needs to practice and learn how to shoot on a breakaway, because he has had multiple breakaways this season, and I don't know if he's converted on any of them. And if he would learn how and when to shoot the puck, I think he waits too long and runs out of room. Things like
I
that,
think
I think, are worth practicing.
I think offensively, I think, and this might be the last little bit that kind of really, really makes him, into that player they hoped they would get when they drafted him in the first
Yeah.
round. I think when he heads towards the net with the puck, I think he still overthinks things
Agreed.
just a little too much.
And when he doesn't overthink things, they fall into place. And I
Correct.
definitely agree with that. And I think once he gets over that like confidence hurdle or whatever it is, then he'll start doing then because now he has been absolutely fantastic by and large this season. I've been angry at him far fewer times this season than last season. But I definitely think he could improve in that area.
Well, it was good to see him get a point in this game, because if he needed, I think he was going through something of a dry spell himself.
Yeah.
So it was good to see him make the score sheet for that, because again, kind of like Mangiapane, but to a lesser extent. If you're gonna turn it on, now is the time, because going to start playing meaningful games here in about a week. So that need to start ramping it up here. So that ended that game. So it's nice to get the 2 points and the revenge against the team that you didn't do so great against week before. And then came today's game. And not just because the Caps scored absolutely no goals in this thing. No goals. To quote Juicy Soros in that ever-loving commercial. Not just because of that, and not just because of the fact that it was a dog crap of a game. The likes of which some of us are going to be forced to drink to forget about. Not me. Okay, I'm lying a bit. I don't think it was 100% representative. It couldn't have been 100% representative of the real Washington Capitals team this year. It just wasn't. It was an abomination. It was terrible. It was hard to watch. It was every negative thing you can imagine, but it wasn't the real Caps that we were used to. And not only were they missing a lot of their best players, they were missing something else. They were missing, and I don't know, I would love to know what caused this, but it felt like watching a team with its spirit cut out of it somehow.
It felt like they were playing a practice game versus it felt like a tournament game versus an actual game. I don't know what it was, but like the lack of effort and the lack of, I feel like it was the third period before they finally woke up. The only time that there was life was when Leonard took that huge hit. Was that the end of first period or second period?
Towards the end of the first period.
Okay. So when he took that big hit, you saw some jump in the guys when they, and then you saw some jump when they came to his defense in the fight. But that was like the only signs of life. In terms of the actual playing of hockey, the passes were off. Everyone was just kind of lackadaisical. I felt so bad for Hunter Shepard because this is his first game all season. Now, granted, he wasn't looking the sharpest either. However, not all of those goals were on him. He had no defensive backup whatsoever. I was really happy to see how well Leonard responded to the big hit and the fight. Like, I was happy to see him come back and not act cowed or not like he was like, okay, welcome to the NHL. Like, this is what it is. He's used to taking hits from college boys, not like big men. And that was his first big hit. And he came back and he battled afterwards. I think that's like the only positive in this game.
Yeah. Yeah. And for my part, when I saw that, a part of me was convinced that the season was lost because aside from the grade 8 chase, he's been the one constant and one of the best players they've had on the ice, and one of the reasons they've had any reason to keep going.
Yeah.
And it just felt like whatever soul they had was going with them. Now I took a look at the hit, and first of all, okay, nobody. Thank God I'm hearing, and I absolutely love that Caps fans are developing into one of the smartest groups of fans around the league. I didn't see anybody, whether it was on Facebook or Twitter or wherever, decry the fact that this was a dirty hit. It was not. Let's get that straight.
There were a couple on the pages that I saw, but for every person that commented, there were at least 5 people like, no, you obviously don't understand hockey. It was a big hit, but it wasn't dirty. So I saw a couple people calling it dirty, but there were enough dissenting voices bringing reason back into it that I appreciated that.
Just because a player happens to be in distress afterwards does not inherently make it a dirty hit.
1,000%.
And this case was a classic case of that. If you watch the replay, the actual principal point of contact was the central lower body area. And the way, if you look at Leonard, how he reacts, he's doubled over like he's gasping for air. And
Yeah.
John Walton and Ken Sabourin, who I adore them, but you never had any more reason to listen to them because it was a national broadcast. And sorry, ESPN, ABC, I could talk about this till I'm blue in the face and beyond. They don't cut it for me, especially the crew that they had on. Not going to name them. Y'all know who they are. But yeah, God bless John and Ken because they nailed it because they were both like, yeah, we're hoping, but it kind of looks like Leonard just got the wind knocked out of him.
Yeah.
And when you focus on his reaction, how he was doubled over and pretty much gasping for air, thankfully, that's what ended up happening. And the principal point of contact of this hit was the chest area.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what happened. Now, Fantilli, did not mean to take him out other than separate him from the puck. There was nothing, no malice, no bad intentions. So you rule that out. It was not targeting the head, and he did not leave his feet. Those are the 3 things you usually look for. So all those boxes, well, not checked, as it were. That's really what you have to look for. You can't, can't little hockey 201 here. You can't base your judgment solely on emotion. You have to break it down and see what actually happened. Do you want to see Leonard doubled over in that much pain and writhing on the ice? No, of course not. But it wasn't because of an illegal play. It wasn't even because of a reckless play. It was a legal body check.
Yep.
That happened. And it happens in the game. And, I think Leonard himself ended up taking away from the fact, okay, you know what? I got to expect that kind of thing. I got to keep that, as they say, keep your head on a swivel and watch out for that thing. Welcome to the NHL. So now he knows. And I think this above all is why he got drafted. He's a student of the game, so he's going to take it to heart and learn the lesson and keep it close.
Absolutely.
So,
and I think that we've seen that in each of his games. I feel like we have absolutely seen progression. We've seen his confidence growing. We've seen his presence on the ice. I think it's very obvious that he is taking it all in and that he's learning and that he wants to learn and that he's willing to learn.
Definitely.
And that was so that's always my concern. You get used to being a big fish in a little pond. You can come in with an ego. And I think coming in on a team like where you're going to be playing with Ovechkin absolutely modifies that a little bit. But I think it's been very clear from everything that we've seen since Leonard has been here that it's not like he's not egotistical or hard to coach. He is very much like, okay, teach me. I want to learn. I want to be better. And I've really liked his attitude from what I've seen.
Yes, I think that plus his coachability are the two biggest factors. So not even what he can do on the ice,
Yes.
but off the ice as well. Now, what I didn't like seeing, I like that he stood up for himself and got into that fight later. I didn't like him being in that fight so soon after.
Right.
And by the way, he was put through concussion protocol.
Yeah.
So they were kind of concerned about that. I don't know if that was, part of the impact, as it were, but just so you know, he did have to go through that. But yeah, I don't know.
And I definitely I don't want to see him in those situations regularly. Like I don't that's obviously not his strong suit, but given the way it played out, like he hit someone else cross-checked him from behind. So like in that situation, I felt like he was trying to make a point.
Yeah, and right, I know where you're going with this.
I felt like it was called for in that situation.
Well,
I don't want him to start looking for it, but I felt like he was trying to say like, "Hey, you're not going to push me around just because I'm new and young."
Well, exactly. And I'll end the point by summarizing a piece of advice the great Gordie Howe was given when he began his career. His first coach, Jack Adams, told him, "Young man, you've been causing a stir in my training camp here. Let me give you a piece of advice. I will not tell you to run from a fight ever, but please, sir, do not go looking for one because you're needed on the ice, not off it." And I think that applies here. And
agreed.
I get that he was standing up for himself, but yeah, Ryan, don't go looking for a fight when you don't need to. Okay, you there will be other ways to prove yourself.
Definitely agreed.
So, just wanted to throw that out there. Okay, well, all right. So we've gone a bit longer. All right, I wanted to throw this in here. So, all right, look. Here's the elephant in the room. We've really got to start talking about here. Let's just go ahead and break it down to just plain old results. So this past week, 3 games, 2 losses. And the one win, they had to go into extra time and beyond. Week before that, 2 wins, and two of them were against bottom scraping teams.
And the wins were not nearly as decisive as they should have been.
Nor were they all that damn impressive.
No.
And the one loss was a very bad one.
Yes.
Week before that. Oh, I forgot about the Buffalo game on Sunday that they just absolutely collapsed in. And the week before that, 2 games. One they just absolutely died in the third period, and the other one where this is probably where it all started, the one in overtime against Winnipeg, where they just completely forgot where they were and made a bad line change and gave it away in overtime.
Yeah.
Now, thankfully, it's to the eventual President's Trophy winners.
Right.
They can have it.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. So if I look at the win percentage games 61 to 70, we had a 90% win percentage. Games 71 to 79, 45%. It's the last 9 games have just been a hot mess.
And that is not the trend.
Not the trajectory we want at all.
Going into the playoffs at all. So while again, I am not having my hand anywhere near the panic button, not quite ready to press it, I am concerned.
Yeah. No, I have been all season long. I've been don't be alarmed. I've kept saying, don't be alarmist. Of course, we're going to lose some, but I do not like the last 10 games make me very nervous. My hand is definitely inching over to the panic button, and it makes me so mad. It makes me so mad to see that trend after the season we've had.
Go ahead.
I will be furious if we fall on our faces during playoffs because we just stopped trying. And I don't know what needs. I hope that they come out tomorrow and they just turn it around and they start actually playing like the Capitals again. Because the last 2 weeks, outside of, and it's so weird because the last 2 weeks have been such a high in terms of getting that goal record, but such a low with everything else. And I think that they are all just adrenaline crashing, and they need to figure out how to get that focus back. And I don't know what Carbs needs to say, but he needs to get in there and crack the whip. I know he can do it. I have faith. I have faith that Carbs can get in there and get through to them and make them try again.
Well, so to that point, let's address that first. This coming playoffs will be his first true test coaching in the playoffs.
Yes.
I don't count last year because what did he have last year? He had next to no offense. He had a depleted defense, and he had a very tired, very overused number 1 goalie.
Yeah.
So of course they got swept by.
Yeah. Last year, first of all, we barely scraped in. Plus, in the last 2 weeks of regular season, the frickin' Rangers depleted our D-core by injuring. We played the Rangers multiple times, and they injured us going into playoffs and the first game of playoffs. We had no D-core left because they depleted it. That's what makes me so mad. Because in regular season, we split the series with the Rangers, but we were trying so hard just to get into playoffs. We were playing playoff hockey for, essentially after the All-Star break last year. Every game after was so important.
Right. And that's the other half of this coin, is a lot of those losses were against, like today, against teams that are desperate to
Yes.
either stay in or make the playoffs.
Right.
So
And we were the team doing that last year.
right. So glass half full. Yes, today's loss was ugly, but yeah, it's going to be ugly when you have your number 3 goalie in net. You don't
Yeah.
have your top goal scorer. You don't have one of your top defensemen. You don't have your top 5-on-5 player. And your other number 1 D, his contribution, his sole contribution to defense is standing in the crease and watching the other guy tap at the puck until it goes in the net.
Yeah.
John Carlson. I love you, Johnny, but oh my God, you were awful today.
Yeah. I normally am defending him and pointing out all of the good things that he does when people are ragging on him, because I think that he gets ragged on unfairly a lot. But today, I have nothing to say.
Well,
Sorry.
there was a time in his career where offense was all he did. And then he got better at it. And that all started when Barry Trotz took over as coach. And he learned from that system how to take better care of the puck and be less of a liability at the other end. And then he left, and that kind of went a little by the wayside. And then his old habits came back, and that all got magnified in the 2021, 2020, whatever the series was against Florida, where he turned over the puck and it led to a game-winning goal. That all
Right.
got magnified all over again. Then he got hurt, and then I think that was when everybody realized, okay, you know what? Without him, there's no offense, and offense is your best defense. And I think that's when everybody started to figure him out. But sometimes, like in this game, bad habits creep in. And I get that this was a meaningless game, but next week ain't going to be no meaningless games.
No.
So they've got, like you said, they've got to learn how to tamp down those bad habits and keep those away. But getting back to Carberry, this will be his first true test, and I think he will pass. But I'm hoping, pardon me, he will, not that he's bad at it at all, but I'm hoping that as the series, whoever their opponent is, and it's looking like Montreal at this point, that he learns that tendency from playing the same team over and over again. Learns their tendencies and picks up on how best to match the lines. That's what good coaches do.
I have just based on watching our games with the Western Conference teams, I feel like that's part of why we don't do as well in the first period, and our third period is consistently the best. I feel like part of that is because Carbs watches that and he figures out the matchups and he adjusts as the game goes. I mean, the fact that our goal differential in period 3 is over double what it is in period 1 and 2, I think says a lot about the adjustments that are made as the game goes. I think the key in playoffs will be, as we play these teams, to make those adjustments earlier in the game so that we are not playing at a deficit. And I think having that series will hopefully allow that adjustment.
I think you've got a great point there. I just hope that, sometimes it isn't as easy to pick up on.
Yeah.
Because some coaches like to throw different things at you as a series goes on. But at the same time, Spencer Carberry's no dummy. when it comes to the sport of hockey. I don't know that, he's not one of those guys that is old enough to have seen it all, but he's seen a lot. He's seen enough. So I'm not worried in that regard.
Yeah.
What I am worried about is whether or not this team will be fully prepared. And again, I get that this was a throwaway game, and I get that so many guys were missing. I would have been okay, more than okay, with a 3-0, 4-0 loss, but this bad,
Yeah.
yeah.
Agreed.
And
I think that now I absolutely agree that putting Shepard in today was the right call. Charlie does not need a back-to-back right now, but I think that it would have been more like 3 or 4 if Chucky had been in net, because
very, very true.
there were absolutely, now I do not blame Shep at all for all of those goals, but there were a couple that it was like, ooh, someone more experienced would have got that. And I think that's inevitable. He is a fantastic AHL goalie. He has been great for the Bears. That doesn't always transfer properly to the NHL. I think that he did great off and on. I think his problem is inconsistency, and you just can't get away with that as much at the NHL level as you can with the AHL level.
Right. And I was just about to get to Shepard, and no, you cannot hang all 7 on him, as I just mentioned, for at least one of them. I would say for about most of this game, he had no defense in front of him to speak of.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say at least a couple of them were the God, I wish I had that back category. The first one, that was a 1,000,000-to-1 pick the corner shot. I guess that one can be excused. I think the second one, I think he wanted to have that back. The third one, maybe. The second and third ones, maybe, were the ones. The rest of them were just his defense letting him down for sure. But no, I'm not going to hang this loss on him. And yes, John Walton made a good point of it. It could have been 100 goals, and there was no way they were pulling him because 24 hours.
Yep.
Charlie Lindgren has to start a game, and as of right now, he is your playoff goalie.
Yes.
You can't wear him out.
Yep.
So
because that was the problem. I got so mad at the people last year who were like, he's proven he can't handle the pressure of playoffs, blah blah. I'm like, it's not the pressure of playoffs. It's that he is freaking exhausted because he has been the only goalie for the whole season. Like, last season was on his back. So I absolutely, he needs to be rested. We need to have him on point. And,
yeah. So, like it or not, you may actually even see a little bit more of him these last few games. Speaking of which, let's wind things up here by our final of the season preview coming attractions. So last full week of the regular season here. We're going to start by covering tomorrow's game, April the 13th, a 6:00 puck drop back at Cap One. Bring the curtain down on the home schedule by playing those same Blue Jackets again. 6:00 puck drop, as I said. Fan appreciation night if you're going. Hope you all enjoy. And if you are a loyal listener, you on the other side of the speakers, earbuds, what have you, of the Triple P, do please represent us by sending us some pictures and posting them to our Facebook page. The rest of the games, the final 2 games, will be on the road Tuesday night, April the 15th. Happy Tax Day, everybody. Hopefully you'll have your stuff mailed in by then. Back on Long Island at the UBS Arena, 7:30 now puck drop. I think they just bumped that up from 8 o'clock, if I'm not mistaken.
they did.
7:30 puck drop. for that game. Let me double check the TV coverage. It is on Monumental, as is tomorrow's game, I believe. Yes. So 7:30 puck drop against the Islanders. I do think they have been eliminated. Yes, they have been eliminated, as have the Rangers. By the way.
Right. We were in the middle of something and I didn't want to interrupt at that point, but I was watching the Rangers lose and was like, oh, we need to. Oh, also speaking of the broadcast, I have to say Chris and I were talking about this earlier, and she was saying, doesn't it feel like just kind of this like beautiful vindication that ESPN stole the only broadcast rights to like this game and a couple others, and Ovi broke the record early enough that Monumental was still getting the calls. So ESPN paid all this money and they stole our broadcast from us, and Ovi was like, nope, I'm going to break the goal earlier than you think I'm going to, so that Joe B and Locker can be on the call. So
Yeah.
Chris and I were just talking about that. I was like, I have to. I hadn't even thought about that until she brought it up, and I was like, that's such a great point. a nice little middle finger to them.
Nice little bit of hockey justice, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. And the final game, number 82 of the year. Speaking of those bad boys from that 4-letter network, they will be covering this one. So Tuesday night will be our last night until the playoffs with the Monumental crew, and then Thursday night, the 17th, we face some old friends, the Flightless Birds, in their crap hole of an arena in the town of Steel. Yes, Pittsburgh. Yes, the Penguins. 7 o'clock puck drop there. It is against the already eliminated Pittsburgh Penguins. I say again, the already eliminated Pittsburgh Penguins, because I love saying that. Who they don't have anything to play for other than Sidney Crosby padding whatever record that team is proud of. But yeah, that's going to bring the curtain down on 2024, 2025. Again, unfortunately, that's going to be on the 4-letter network. So make sure you got Caps Radio 24/7 cranked up for the audio. If you happen to have a provider such as Verizon on a smart TV, and you can sync up the visual with that audio, so much the better. I am blessed for that. Thank God I have something like that, because when the sync goes out, I go nuts. And then at that, I haven't decided if it's that Saturday or Sunday. Well, we're going to need the playoff schedule, obviously.
Right.
So once we have that, I'll have a better idea of when our next recording will be. But we'll still go on. We usually still go on a week-to-week basis on that, depending. So we'll find out what that is. And again, more and more, it's looking like the opponent is going to be the Montreal Canadiens, unless a miracle happens and either Detroit or the CBJ takes it over. We have a hand in that. If we hand the CBJ a loss tomorrow, they're done. Detroit's got to run the table just to stay in it, and they're going to need some help. Montreal just has to win one game, and they're in. So it's going to be very interesting come these next few weeks. But yeah, that's the week that was. And look, I am going to retain my optimism, and I'm going to also retain my concern.
Yes.
I think eventually they will find a way, but I think we have a right to be concerned, but it is still not quite the time to be hitting the panic button. There are adjustments to be made, and I think at least one of the injuries will work itself out, I'm hoping, by the end of the week, which will go a ways towards helping.
Yeah, agreed. I definitely I'm concerned, but I'm also taking into account how many players we were missing today, the fact that like the whole team still has to have like an adrenaline hangover from all that has been going on this week. I mean, it's a lot. So I'm hoping that carbs can get them refocused and in the direction that we know that they can be in when they're playing well.
Yeah, and I think they will get that back. I think some time off will for some of the vets will do some good. I don't
Yes.
like to see that, but I get maybe not so much a physical break as a mental break is what they
Yeah.
need. So there is that. All right, so I know we ran kind of long. Not as much to unpack on the ice. I get that. So thank you so much if you
Yeah.
stuck around,
Oh,
managed to
I
stick
have
around
to
this long.
tell you something you inspired me to do, Gil.
Oh, what's that?
So I've been like, I have had more fun doing the podcast episodes than like anything else in the past quite a few months. And I've been
Glad
like,
to hear
what
it.
can I do that is like similar but different? So I decided that I am starting a TikTok with like caps content so that I can do little snippets here and there throughout the week as I'm doing, as I'm watching games and thinking about things and coming up with, like watching all the stats in my head. Speaking of which, I love like Stromer and his obsession with stats makes me so happy because that's like exactly how I am. So I just have to say that you inspired me to do that because being on this has been so much fun. And I'm like, what can I do that would give me that similar feeling? So I'm starting a TikTok and it's because I've had so much fun doing this. So
Awesome. So, okay, and I wouldn't do this for everybody. Now, of course, everybody's welcome to express themselves on the Facebook page because that's what we're all about. But um, if it moves you, you are more than welcome to post said videos on the Facebook page to share with everybody there. If you'd like. If not, that's fine. Not going to force you either way. I think though a lot of folks there will get a kick out of it. So I just want to make sure that door you know that door is open.
oh,
Should
awesome! I appreciate that. I
you
definitely
want to?
won't inundate, but I'll post them here and there just to like when I get especially fun stuff.
Great. Okay. Well, glad to hear it, and that's what. Yeah, that's definitely what we're all about here is getting everybody to express themselves and to make sure that not only you have a voice that you use it. So all right. Well, this voice is winding down, and so I'm going to sign off here. And thankfully, Mrs. Blue Liner is treating me to some pot roast. Um,
I
so
was waiting for the follow up there.
I am looking forward to that. So for Jini Clausen, I am the Blue Liner on point. Going to sign off here for another episode. I'll remind you that a lawyer's favorite drink, subpoena colada.
Uh, uh,
Hallelujah, and let's go Caps.
This has been another episode of the Power Play Point Podcast. All episodes are available from Apple Podcasts, the Podbean app, blueliner77.podbean.com, and now available from Stitcher. Music by Joe McAllister, voiceover by Jeffrey Conkle.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good night, Power Play Point Podcast. Thanks for listening.